You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Hello, Jackye Clayton.
Oh, hello, Katie Ellen.
Okay, I am going to kill you today. Hi, listeners. This is the Inclusive AF podcast, and Jackie's trying to be a little sassy today. I know that might shock some of you, but it's happening.
Well, you know, we're recording from my new office, and there's no air conditioning, so the heat has kind of got me in a little bit of a mood.
Well, you didn't tell me that part. Now I forgive you for everything. We've been trying to, just so you all know, we've been trying to record a little commercial for our sister podcasts. And alas, Jackye and I don't know how to keep things down to 30 seconds. It doesn't
Turns
work.
out.
It turns out.
Yeah.
We talk a lot. That's all. So Jackye, how was your week so far?
You know what? This week has been actually pretty good, but I'll tell you, I do have some things on my mind.
I am shocked. You are reserved, quiet, not much to say.
I know.
All right, well, let's jump on in because I think this absolutely falls in line with the inclusive AF and how systems are not inclusive. And
right.
And this episode might be the time when Jackye and I both lose it and just start cussing randomly because we're fired.
Absolutely. Because we're Cardi B. I was just thinking about like ChatGPT and how like machine learning works and the inequities. And so I'll tell you what happened. You know, I feel some kind of way about ERG systems. Went into the ChatGPT and said, I hate ERG systems. Please make this sentence better. Right? I mean, if you're going to be so ballsy that it says, let me help you. I'm like, okay, finesse this sentence. Right. And it kept saying, I asked for 5 examples to make me sound authoritative, add emojis so I don't come off as like some jerk. And it was like, I don't like ERG systems, but they are the best way to bring underrepresented people together. And I was like, no.
Oh, ChatGPT taught you.
GPT. And they were like, or I hate ERG systems. And it was like, some people might hate them, but I don't. And I'm like, stop. Like, you are not listening to me. And this is not making things better. And I could not get it to learn. I'm sure there was some way, but I was so angry. I just stopped the whole forward motion. And it got me to thinking, not only is it helping, air quote, helping people write, but it's also has influence. If I say, what's the best Chinese food, you know, ChatGPT, and it says egg foo young, right? Then it has influence, you know, and then the chicken farmers are going to sue and be like, no, it's, you know,
chicken fried rice,
like movie guy pant or whatever, right? So it's like how it has influence. And I keep saying it's smart enough to sound right, but not smart enough to undo whatever it's been learning. And so that's been fresh on my mind. Have you played with it at all?
I have not. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a leader who's been using it quite a bit. And so I've seen the outcomes of the wonderful ChatGPT things. But you do know there's like a whole situation going on. I think you know this about the ChatGPT, like the bias that's already there, like that. If you say the doctor yelled at the nurse for being late, then it will say he as the doctor and she as the nurse. So there's already some gender bias that's been embedded, to your point, because of what has been built in already. And also, if anyone wants a puppy, I'm giving one away today.
No one help Katie with this puppy. Katie needs to learn by natural consequences. But as you know, like my boss has been really into it. Kieran Snyder, I work at Textio, has been really looking at it. And we had a little experiment that made me almost pass out. And it was like, describe a typical day at work for a Black woman, describe a typical day for a Hispanic woman. And it was like, explain a typical day for a white woman. And it was like, can't do that. And also the one that did do it, it was like, Sally wakes up, cooks breakfast for their children, takes the kids to school, then goes to work for a hard day, comes home and cleans, does the dishes, cooks dinner, and goes to bed. And then all the other one, it was like, for a Hispanic woman, it was like Maria works 2 jobs to take care of their family and has 25 kids. And it was like, the bias is a lot worse than people think. That's already behind it. And the other part that is concerning is that if it's using the existing stuff out there to learn, they don't have it right. Like, that's why I've been teaching a class, like the future of DEIB is not Googleable. Like, the future isn't there. And I even, like, for funsies, showed people, what do you think about this article? I was like, none of this works. P.S. I wrote that article 10 years ago, and it's still the way that people start implementing, proper DEIB processes.
It's all wrong.
Thanks. Like, I didn't feel bad. It is.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
like, I think I think ChatGPT is a great example of how AI just inherently has bias. And I think it's also just a great example of how we can flood the system with the right information, or how it can be abused and the wrong information goes in. We all know, clean data in, clean data out.
That's right.
Data in, messy data out. It's the same concept. And so I think that's the piece too that people aren't thinking about or focusing on, is the fact that, like, until we start talking about all of these things the right way into these systems and giving them the tools, no one will hate ERGs except for you.
Just me.
Just to summarize, just to put a bow on this entire conversation.
So now, tomorrow, when you put, I hate ERG systems, it's going to be like, is this Jackye Clayton? It's just going to respond, hi, Jackye.
Yeah. Jackye said, and then Jackye said, yeah. But like, it goes to the whole conversation that I think is also happening in this space of, let me say this. I have seen some great output. As I mentioned, the leader that I'm talking about that has been using it, I've seen the outcomes of what they have done, and it looks fabulous. And so, like, there is some value there, but I think it's how much information does it have to base some of these things off of? And like, ERGs is that great example. If ERGs is the summary of what you're doing for DEI work, it's not going to work.
No. Well, I also did something very gruesome. Keep in mind, I started my online stuff many years ago, and so I asked it to write an obit for me.
Jacqueline.
I'm not trying to be gruesome. I just wanted to see what it would come up with. It wasn't trying to be morbid. And it said, like, Jackye was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, oh, so we just gonna start off with a lie. It didn't even say, like, I think, maybe, perhaps. It just was like,
possibly.
Boom. Yeah, no. It didn't say, not really sure about this part. But I mean, it was actually really good. Like, it really did, find some of the things that I did, the organizations that I partnered with, some of my relationships, awards and accolades. And that's what's scary. Like, a lot of it is good and good enough to get past the average user. Unless you're looking for it. I don't mean average. I mean, like, if you're not looking for things that are inherently wrong.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I'm also going to say, though, like, that what you just said is a great example. If someone tried, like, to use that to write my obituary, what would they do? Because, like, legally, my name is Catherine, but I have used Katee professionally my entire life. And even at school, Katee was, that's the name I've always used. So how's that going to work out? And how many Catherine Van Horns are there on the planet that it's going to pull from? I might just do that today and tell you, and that could be part of what we put in the show notes is my obit. How does it sound to you?
As long as you put Catherine Ellen, I would love that the most.
Do you know my middle name is actually a secret? Like, nobody knows my middle name. Like, my friends
until today.
Yeah, until right now. Yeah, great, Jackye. Thanks.
Okay, delete, backspace, backspace.
Yeah. I will bleep that out or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jackye, can we talk about a couple other things?
Absolutely.
Met Gala. Did you look at the outfits?
Oh, honey, did you see Rihanna?
Great careers are forged out of great relationships. Your success, whatever your field, relies and thrives on the support and insights of others. I'm Andy Lapata, an author and speaker on the power of professional relationships. In the Connected Leadership podcast, I have the privilege of interviewing people from around the world to understand the relationships that have made a difference on their journey and how their insights can help you. From Nobel Prize winners to Olympians, from NASA astronauts to peace campaigners, my guests have shared some captivating moments from their lives and careers. Combined with experts from leading universities, cutting-edge authors and giants of business, the Connected Leadership podcast aims to inspire, educate and entertain.
Dude, she is phenomenally beautiful. And they are just so cute together. And I'm like smile and the love you like, I'm a super fan. So what I want to talk about though, too, is the whole Karl Lagerfeld situation. Did you know about this? Do you know about this?
Yes. Well, I did notice, I didn't know about it until I saw all the cats and I'm like, what's with all the cats? And then I knew that they were honoring Lagerfeld because Jared Leto came as a cat, Doja Cat came as a cat.
Yeah. Right.
Lots of cats.
But do you know why everyone's upset about it?
Nope.
So, and I do not know anything about this. So let me just say that the information that I have is based solely off of what I've seen posted on Instagram and TikTok. But I guess he was very problematic for the Me Too movement. He was very problematic for the LGBTQ community and very problematic for different groups that were historically marginalized. And that's everyone's like, why are we honoring this person that is a horrible human?
Why are we honoring this person who's a horrible human?
Because
did they say anything?
No one from the Met Gala, whatever.
I mean, because he was hateful.
Yes. And because I don't know if what's her name? What's the woman's name that is her name?
From Vogue?
Yeah. Anna Wintour. I don't know if she's the head honcho of all things Met Gala. Sometimes I wonder if people listen to this podcast and just scream the answers to all the words that I can't remember. No, thank you. Scream louder. I haven't heard you yet. I get she's kind of the person that makes these decisions, I believe, but I'm sure there's a whole group of them that comes up with themes and whatnot.
Why did they do a person? I mean, that part's unnecessary as it is. It's not punk or Renaissance or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's weird.
I just think it's an odd thing to honor someone. And there is a part of me also that's everyone was problematic at some point in time. And so there's also no one can be honored because there's some weird.
That's why you don't have a person.
Yeah. You have a theme. Cats could be a theme. It could have just been cats. So speaking of people that have done horrible things, Brian McKnight.
Dude, I am livid about the situation. It's just, I guess livid's not a word. It's just so dumb. Brian McKnight talking about his wife's children and not mentioning his own. And now we're finding all this stuff. I guess a lot of this stuff we should have known.
So someone posted a little clip of an interview that they did in 2010 or something. And it was oh, my wife inspires all my music.
Right.
And she and my children, that's how I there's nothing more important than that, blah, blah, blah. And it literally erases his first family completely and his children. And you're wow, wowzers, trousers. Like that's
Well,
a whole,
he's been married to his current wife for like 6 years.
right.
Ain't
So-
nobody heard nothing new from him in the last 6 years.
No.
So, like, what are
Well,
you-
and that is the joke, is that he's like, my new music is inspired by my wife. And everyone's like, so nothing, like, cause you haven't put anything out, sir. I don't know, but whatever. Good times are had by all. What other current events do we need to talk about other than I am going to talk about one current event
Yes.
that I don't think we've really addressed this on the podcast. And I think it's one that kind of has a lot of different legs that we could go down and area paths that we could cover. But
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the fact that the trans community is being erased and the trans community is being harmed on a daily basis. I think we're up to 769 different legislative asks, laws, whatever they're called,
They're being
that
attacked.
that are meant to deny them human rights. And
I can't take it.
No. And I think it's it's not even it is an I can't take it, but it's also why is everyone so mad? Why can't people just let other people live their lives and just leave them alone? Like, there's no one harming you. If you don't want your kids to go to a drag show, then don't take them to a drag show. It's real simple.
Right.
If you don't want your kids to be exposed to certain things, don't let them see it. It's really not a big deal. If you
Right.
don't want to drink Bud Light, don't drink Bud Light. I don't
Easy.
recommend buying Bud Light. I mean, actually, I do recommend buy more Bud Light and then shoot it with your gun.
You don't have to drink it. You don't have
That
to
still
drink it.
helps Budweiser. So, it's a whole situation. But the harm that is being done to the trans community is so disturbing on so many levels. And I just don't know, how are we, like, what can we do, Jackye? What can we do?
We have to get louder. I think a lot of people are just standing aside and it's like, oh, this doesn't affect me directly.
Yeah.
No, it's not we're not talking about a large population. And so that's why it's easy to get these things just sliding in, right? It's like people just slide all of these pieces. But I mean, people are under attack, especially young trans members that don't have the ability to vote, that are counting on us to be able to do that power. I mean, and it has to be making people aware of what it is and calling it what it is. I keep seeing like, vote yes on bill number 14 or whatever these things. Like, people need to understand that they're taking our rights away, like humans,
Yes.
other humans. And so this should be terrifying for everyone.
Right.
When they start doing things like this, it's confusing when you're thinking about like, what about sidewalks? What about, fuel? What about insurance? What about houseless people? Like, why are so many people focusing on this instead of other issues that affect like the larger community? Why are you trying to take rights away from people?
I guess that is like the part that I just don't understand, but I think you're right. We need to get louder. And I think it's also, even Fox had a poll on, and, it was like a snapshot from that about guns. And they were, how many people want guns to have a background check, and how many people want a mental health evaluation, and like different things. And like the predominant answer was like a ton of people want this. And that was like Fox News, who, we can't really trust for any information. However, they're also very right leaning. For them to say people want these things to be recognized from a gun violence perspective. But I guess there's also this factor of, we were in this space of trying to really learn and grow and get better. And now it's like we've reverted back to, the days of, Jim Crow laws and some of these other things that are coming up that are like, what in the world is happening? Like, we have literally reverted back to the
Yes.
1950s.
Yes.
And there's no rhyme or reason to why or how to fix it. I don't know. I think that if you are not registered to vote, register to vote and go vote. Number two, if you have children, whether they're in the trans community or not, please understand that your kids do not care. They want to embrace their friends. They want to embrace their friends for whoever they are, however they show up. And so I've also heard just so much rhetoric about hormone therapy and all of these other things. And any doctor that you talk to, any therapist that you talk to, psychologist that you talk to will absolutely confirm that you don't just start hormone therapy because it's Tuesday. You
That's
go
right.
through an entire therapy regimen, psychiatric evaluation, all of these things. You can get a gun much more easily than you can start hormone replacement therapy. And I just don't understand why people, just tell lies all the time, constantly, and make stuff up that's not true, but also why our country is determined to continue to harm the marginalized groups of this country.
It's divisive. I mean, it's simply to try to break people apart, and cause that hate rhetoric, because they already know that hate has more impact than love does. And you are talking about something that people don't understand. They're making decisions about something that they don't understand, and can scare people. And that's the other part. It's like this hate mongering where it's like really frightens people because they don't know what they're talking about. And it's painful. My oldest is non-binary, and we're looking at they had to redo their driver's license, and we were trying to get some things together. And just the pain and frustration as they had to use their dead name that they have to use and do, it's just painful for me to watch. And there's nothing that I can do for them right now. And not having the choice to choose is painful, especially for those that are, gender fluid and the non-binary don't have an option at all of selecting non-binary, and how that affects people. And I wish, just the education process, just the education about where our rights and who gets to make those decisions, which brings us to my next favorite topic, which is my uterus. Why does as going through things with my own insurance, I have insurance, and having my insurance denied, and people are like, my body, my choice. No, bullshit. It's like Aetna's choice, or Mutual of Omaha's choice, or some 1-year dermatologist that works on claims for an insurance company's choice. And we don't realize how we impact people's lives. Wake up. People are showing you who they are. Believe them. And we do have options. We do have choices. And I hope people are realizing, no, you have to vote. It does impact you. You can't trust the people that are just getting in there to do it on your behalf, because they don't care about anyone. It's hard to tell if I don't understand. And especially when we're looking at our next election, it's terrifying. Katie's famous. I'm sure it's Milan calling.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
Well, that's the first time that's happened on this computer. And I don't know, probably 8 months, but everything's brand new today. Everything's new today.
Everything old is new today.
Everything old is new today. So the other part to this is my body, my choice, our votes matter, but also it's that age old storyline of, first they came for these people, but it didn't affect me, so I didn't have to do anything. Then they came for but it still didn't affect me, so I didn't do anything. And so many people, and I'm going to target my sweet group that I belong to, white women, wake up.
Sweeties.
Treaties.
Yeah.
Like it boggles the mind that you have people running around that do not understand the impact of, well, I'm just going to follow whatever my husband says, or I'm just going to do this. And you're like, no, that's not how this works. And you're harming yourself. Even if it doesn't look like it's today, you're harming yourself. You are. And it's also the people that we are voting into office are not in our same tax bracket. So they can go make choices for themselves. And I mean, how many stories have we heard just in the last, since Roe v. Wade was overturned, how many stories have we heard about this senator or this representative or this person, had their mistress have an abortion or do whatever. And it's like, yeah, because they can do those things because they've, paid for those things because they're in a certain tax bracket. Now, I just don't understand why that impacts people. And it's not a religious thing. It's not anything else. It is, no, you're just being dumb and you're taking away the rights of women. Period.
Well, now let's talk about this because women don't have rights, to be clear.
True.
If you go back, there are, they're not necessarily a protected class. There's like harassment and various things, but it's like women don't have rights. I know a lot of people didn't know that. But on top of that, no, I talk to women all the time. I'm like, no, that's not a law. They're like, it's not. I'm like, no, women don't have rights in this country.
Right.
There's a gentleman whose wife filed for divorce and she was abused, verbally abused. It's been going viral. And part of the campaign, I forget his name, but what dude was talking about was he kept bringing up about how his wife filed for divorce and he didn't have a choice. So now he's trying to pass a law that it's unfair. Like you can't just get divorced. It can't be one person that both people have to agree to get a divorce. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I would not be shocked at this point. 10 years ago, I would have been shocked. Today, I would not be shocked if there was a law that said, like other countries, that both people have to agree or the man has to agree, for divorce laws. I would not be shocked at this point.
Right. And there are so many pieces to this puzzle. And it's also the women recognizing that it wasn't too long ago that we couldn't open a bank account. We couldn't have a credit card. We couldn't hold a mortgage for a home. We couldn't do any of these different things. And, thank you, RBG. Rest in peace. Mm-hmm. That we have so many of those rights, but literally they're getting stripped and no one is paying attention. And the media and the politicians are doing such a great job of just sitting in these different hearings and acting up and acting foolishly and worrying about stuff that just does not matter instead of taking care of the rights of the people that they are supposed to be serving and protecting. And it's just willy-nilly, whatever you decide today, that's what you get to do. The no fault divorce thing, it is like, I don't know much about it, but I know that's like a new topic that's come up, is that there should be a no fault divorce, meaning if I'm the person that I'm the person that says I want to get divorced, it's usually the other person that's at fault. And now that's part of, I think, this argument that you're talking about, is that the person that's getting filed against them doesn't want to have any accountability in the ending of the relationship. But what else you got? What else is on your mind?
The average person experiences up to 10,000 marketing efforts each day. Those ideas are culled from millions of possibilities. The CMO Confidential podcast takes you behind the scenes to learn about the decisions, drama, politics, and glory that go with one of the most scrutinized jobs in the executive suite, the Chief Marketing Officer. Guests from all over the business world join Mike Linton, a 5-time CMO, to share stories about what it's really like in the marketing universe.
Jackie Lou.
I don't have any space in my brain for much else. I guess the other thing that I've been talking a lot about was that there has been people who approached me, and I've talked to various organizations that have been afraid of like getting defunded, like in Florida and Texas, for diversity, equity, and inclusion plans for state colleges, but still wanting to implement those things. And again, the censorship is terrifying. Like, we're supposed to be implementing it, but we can't use the words like diversity, inclusion, whatever. And I'm like, boo-boo, I don't know how to help you on that. Like, I know how to implement programs like under the veil, but I think there's a bigger problem there.
Right.
That needs to be addressed.
Oh, well, it's not in the current environment politically that we're in, with the banning of books, the, banning of
I just want to throw up.
CRT. And I'm using quotes when I say CRT because, as we all know, like, CRT isn't really impacting any grade school children. It's, should we teach the accurate history of the US or should we not? Let's call it what it is.
Right.
But again, this goes to, who are you voting for, and are they actually handling it? And they're not. And when we have these situations where you can't say certain words, or you can't actually be accurate in historical context, or whatever it might be, it is like, how do you do this? How do you actually have these conversations? And I know, like, I have had situations where I've had companies that have said, we don't want to use the term racism, or we don't want to use the term white privilege, or we don't want to, and so it's language that they are afraid of. And you're like, but how do you teach this accurately then? Or how do you explain to people what in groups, out groups, what all of these things mean, and how to actually think about them, and more importantly, how to change them for the future, how to break down the systems that are happening and make it better for us, and then also for future generations. And I just think there's not a lot of help right now that we can go to, which is why it's also scary.
It's just, we have to get real. And it's just like, when you think about, I always think about my children and about how we try to teach them all of their body parts, because if something happens, they have the words to be able to communicate. Yeah. Likewise, we have to use the right language so that we know that we're discussing, or else we cannot solve the problem.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, we try to mask it. There's certain words where we try to be inclusive, where we can put all the groups to save time, but it's like, if the problem internally, that's what, it's like, I'm looking at your team, at the voices that are missing at the table. You don't have any Hispanic or, Latinx, Latino, you don't have anybody on your team.
Right.
No, like, why is that a problem? Like, gasp. It's like, no, listen, like, we're all like, no, we see color. Like, we know we can do these things. And that's why you have to move forward with intention. And I think that's where people need to understand, you have to be intentional. By not being intentional, this is stuff that gets slipped under the rug.
Absolutely.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Well, yes, we all need to be mad, and we all need to take action. That's the thing. But I don't want to end this on a bad note. I want to end this on a positive note, Jacqueline. What do you got for me that's positive? What's going on in your world? I'm gonna
pure goat milk hand cream.
No. I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna give you one that I'm gonna call out. So your boss, is awesome. Let's just be clear. We all. I love that she is highlighting the work of that you're doing, the work of the teams at Textio. And I just think it's so amazing that she, like, for someone that I know is running in 60 different directions at once, the fact that she will take a time and make a post about ChatGPT, or about what you're working on, or about different things that are going on in the organization and what her team is doing about it. I just, like, on LinkedIn, if you're not following Karen, go do it right now, because she's got lots of good stuff. But the piece that I think is great is that she's actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Even when it seems like it's just a post or just a small thing, she's doing the work that actually matters of, let me highlight Jackye. Let me highlight whoever else on my team. Let me highlight what we're working on or how ChatGPT might be biased or things to think about with AI. And I truly appreciate every one of her posts because I think it's such a great way for people to actually understand. That's part of the work. It
That's
may
right.
be like little things, but those little things add up. And so, if you are in this space, if you are an HR person, if you're a leader, think about the folks that are doing the work. And again, a lot of times that is, unfortunately, the Black women that are just being asked to do all the things. Give them a high five on LinkedIn. Give them some love. Make sure that you're being thoughtful about who are you highlighting? Because I don't want to hear about the next tech bro. I want to hear about what Black women are doing and how they are changing the world, because they are, as we know.
Well, my boss makes me blush because I'm just like, oh, stop. Oh,
She makes my heart so happy. I love it. I love it. I love it.
But I mean, it's true. Like people that are doing the work, that are really doing the work, and the executives that are doing the work.
Right.
And showing the example of what, getting the opportunity to show what we're working on has been great. And I always get shocked at I didn't know that you saw that, or I didn't realize that had impact. And we're talking about groundbreaking stuff, and just being able to have the opportunity to put those things into play and not to be afraid to try something that is new.
Right. Absolutely. All right, my friend. On that note,
I still think people need to know about this pure goat milk by Beckman.
I'm sorry. Can you
hand
put it
cream.
Can you put it a little closer to the camera so we can see it?
Yes, because this is great.
I have some of that in my house.
Do you? It's great.
Yeah, it's very good. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes. So it's a great thing.
Go get some goat milk lotion, folks. That's the message we want you to take forward from this episode. All right, Jackye, love ya.
Love you too.
Thanks all for listening, and we will chat with you soon. Bye.
Bye.
You might be surprised to know that not all serial killers are straight cisgender white men, and the victims of true crime are not a monolith either. She's Wendy and I'm Beth, and together we host Fruit Loops Serial Killers of Color, a true crime podcast.
Together we take deep dives into the true crime stories about marginalized and minoritized perps and victims that often go untold.
We also provide the context and nuance that these stories deserve. At Fruit Loops, we're serving up true crime with a side of history, society, culture, and some fun.
Listen to Fruit Loops Serial Killers of Color on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.